In the halls of Congress, where fierce debates unfold daily, a stunning moment recently silenced one of the most vocal members of the House. Marjorie Taylor Greene, known for her unfiltered and often controversial remarks, found herself caught in an unexpected silence. The trigger? A bold and brilliant move by Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who turned Greene's own words into a weapon of political accountability. It happened during a heated committee hearing, where tensions were high and the usual firebrand energy was expected from Greene. But what no one saw coming was how a well-timed quote would flip to the entire narrative. The room shifted, eyebrows raised, cameras zoomed in. Crockett, calm and deliberate, took her time, and then dropped the line that echoed through the chamber. The moment wasn't just dramatic, it was symbolic. A silence not from lack of opinion, but from confrontation with one's own record. Jasmine Crockett didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. As she held the printed words in her hand, her tone was measured, and her expression calm. Greene, sitting across the table, looked uneasy, and something rare for a politician who thrives on confrontation. Crockett read aloud a quote Greene had made just months earlier. The irony in the statement was glaring, the contradiction undeniable. Greene's face, usually defiant, showed the slightest flicker of confusion, followed by silence. This wasn't an ambush, it was strategy. A simple, factual repetition of Greene's own words. No shouting, no insults, just accountability. And in politics, that can cut deeper than any attack. It was the kind of moment political commentators live for, where rhetoric is met with reality and the consequences play out live on camera. One woman's calm dismantled another's chaos. The chamber, usually buzzing with murmurs and interjections, paused. Some representatives leaned forward. Others exchanged glances. What had just happened wasn't about political parties. It was about truth catching up. Greene, who often uses hearings as a platform for her fiery tirades, seemed caught in a moment of reflection, or at least hesitation. Crockett's words hadn't just quoted Greene, they had framed her, not with spin, but with clarity. It was a reminder that every statement made on record can and will resurface, especially when it's inconsistent, especially when it's hypocritical. In that brief silence, an entire audience witnessed something rare, vulnerability from someone who rarely admits it. And Crockett didn't gloat. She didn't even smile. Her expression said it all. This wasn't about winning a debate. It was about setting the record straight. For those watching at home or following the coverage online, clips of the moment spread rapidly. Social media lit up with reactions, with some praising Crockett's poise and others expressing shock that Greene, so rarely silent, had no immediate retort. Hashtags trended. Analysts dissected the exchange frame by frame. What was it that made Greene pause? Was it the realization of contradiction, or the sudden awareness that her words had returned to haunt her in public? Regardless, the political theater had taken a turn, and in the middle of it all was Crockett, a freshman lawmaker already making a name for herself, and not with theatrics, but with facts. Not with volume, but with timing. The contrast between the two congresswomen couldn't have been starker, and that contrast is exactly what made the moment so powerful and memorable. What Jasmine Crockett demonstrated wasn't just a sharp memory or a prepared linea, it was legislative maturity. She used the very tools of governance: a record, history, transcript to hold a fellow lawmaker to account, and it worked. In a system where shouting often overshadows substance, Crockett flipped the script. She didn't interrupt. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't even look angry. Her approach forced the audience to focus not on tone, but on content. And when content is strong, tone becomes irrelevant. Greene had built a reputation on provocation, but provocation only works when others react emotionally. Crockett refused to play that game. Instead, she built her own momentum and let Greene's silence say the rest. In politics, silence can be louder than words, and this silence roared. The political implications were immediate. Pundits on cable news quickly picked up the moment, using it to highlight the changing dynamics within congressional hearings. Crockett's precision was compared to a skilled cross-examination in court, where truth is distilled through evidence rather than emotion. It was clear that a new kind of voice had entered the arena, one that understood not just politics, but optics. Crockett's quote wasn't obscure, it was recent, relevant, and impossible to refute. And because of that, Greene couldn't respond with her usual barrage of counterattacks. Any attempt would have made the contradiction more obvious, so instead, for once, Greene was forced to retreat if only briefly. But in that moment of retreat, the power shifted. Crockett had made her point, and the country had taken notice. Of course, not everyone saw the moment the same way. Greene's supporters quickly went into defense mode, suggesting the clip was taken out of context or that the silence didn't mean concession. But those arguments didn't quite land, because the video, raw and unedited, showed everything. Greene listening, Crockett reading, silence. The interpretation didn't need spin up, it spoke for itself. For critics of Greene, the moment was vindication. For supporters of Crockett, it was a breakthrough. And for the undecided, it was a demonstration of how leadership can look different. Not louder, not more aggressive but simply more prepared. Crockett had raised the bar, and whether people agreed with her politics or not, her method earned attention, respect, even because she played a long game. And in politics, the long game always matters more. The aftermath saw Crockett's profile rise considerably. News outlets featured her interview. Commentators praised her control. Even late-night hosts referenced the moment, turning the silence into a punchline, but always with respect for the way it had unfolded. Greene, for her part, resumed her regular tone in subsequent appearances. But something had changed. There was now a crack in the armor, a public record of being speechless in a space where being speechless is rare. And while one moment doesn't define a career, it can certainly reshape perception. Crockett knew this. That's why she didn't overplay it. She let the facts do the work. That's powerful and rare. In the age of viral clips and political grandstanding, the calmest voice in the room had delivered the biggest impact. Observers began asking, is this the start of a new strategy in politics, one that uses accountability instead of outrage, facts instead of fire? If so, Crockett may be at the forefront of a shift. Her background as an attorney clearly played a role in her delivery. She didn't argue as she built a case. And Greene, in that moment, was the witness facing her own testimony. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone watching. It reminded America that politics isn't just about who can yell the loudest, it's about who can back up their words. And when those words are turned back on you, the consequences can be immediate and irreversible. That was the story of the day. Not that Greene was wrong, but that Crockett made her own words the evidence. And so, the story of Greene and Crockett will be replayed for weeks, maybe months. It will be cited in media training sessions, political science classrooms, and maybe even future campaigns. Because it wasn't just a moment, it was a lesson. One that said preparation beats provocation. That silence, when caused by truth, speaks volumes. And that in an age where everyone talks, the real power sometimes lies in who listens and then speaks with purpose. Crockett didn't defeat Greene with aggression. She defeated her with reflection. And that, more than any headline or trending tweet, is what made the moment unforgettable. The quote was Greene's, but the power, the precision, and the pause, that belonged entirely to Jasmine Crockett.